Welcome to the sort of online and continuing education presentation for today. We have our topic is level up with gamification, and our MC for this group is Michael Mena, and we have joining him in the conversation Dr. Abigail Perkins, Linnell Forrest, Lily Freeman, and Jessica Weiss, all with a variety of perspectives on how gamification can work for us and can support our student success. So with that, I will now turn it over to Michael.
Really appreciate it. So I'm Michael Mena, a digital media developer at the Center of Online and Continuing Education. Today we're going to go over gamification. We're going to first define what gamification is together, find out why gamification is good for courses, and come up with some short-term ideas that an instructor could use right now, and then long-term ideas to gamify the course later. You could see that as like more of a theoretical approach. So in the beginning of this, we got to define what gamification is. For short, is just a way to improve engagement in a non-game environment. So you could use a reward system, a badge system, a leaderboard, any way to improve engagement, make the students want to dabble with the content longer, or any of that nature. Does everyone agree with that definition?
From a game-based learning scholar perspective, for me, gamification is a subset under a umbrella of educational play. This is one manifestation of how educational play can come about.
Okay, so let's go over the why. Why would you want to gamify your course? As an online student, um, I saw my whole experience as a game. For me, it was to reduce stress for me. Some tests are pretty scary, some classes are pretty scary. So the way I saw it was splicing the whole course up into sections and rewarding myself through it. So it really de-stressed me and motivated me to get certain objectives done. Um, Dr. Perkins?
Well put. When we feel safe and are in a comfortable environment where failure is not only okay, but encouraged in the process, the experience becomes more agentic and students have an opportunity to take more ownership of the learning process, which becomes more real because it is more real. And that internalization of participating in the learning process, that internalization of the content, then becomes a very synergistic process. And it's very engaging, highly motivational, and there are a plethora of research studies that can support those aspects, just to name a few.
Yeah, and to jump back in, through some of the research I was doing, around like 30% to 64% of the average of US adults are gamers. So adding some game elements into courses, you could see, I guess, in a way, an improvement for all those students. It's more of a positive. I can't really think of a negative of why not to gamify a course. Does anybody else want to jump in?
I just wanted to make a point about the learner being the stakeholder in their own learning, and their motivation could be self-motivation. And you'll see this type of learner making many attempts in an assessment or an interactive activity until they achieve excellence. And some of these people believe that learning is more than, failure can be part of learning, and it's more exploration than failure. So just trying over and over again till they actually achieve that knowledge or that skill.
Yeah, and there's a lot of even games, like actual games, that the whole premise of the whole game is learning from your failures. Like there's a lot of games out there that don't even give you a guide or a tutorial or anything. And to be honest, it teaches you a journey across the whole way. And I think learning could also follow the same way. You know, a failure uh, could mean more of an opportunity of improvement that you didn't know that topic, and you could get around it.
If it's
So
not penalized, that is actually if it's rewarded in some way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Linnell, I was just going to echo that. Like, I think, I mean, that, in my opinion, that kind of mirrors, you know, a lot of real life skills that we want our students to learn. You know, inquiry, taking on challenges, you know, grittiness, growth mindset. And if we reward those skills, you know, students will, there's increased efficacy for being willing to try things and learn from failures, as the other panelists have mentioned. So yeah, I think that's a really strong argument for allowing students to just navigate through exploration.
All right. So short-term ideas. So this area is just techniques that you could an instructor could implement right now. Let's say kind of low effort ways to gamify their course right now in this starting from this moment. For me, as an online student, I saw an instructor that it's gonna sound bad in the beginning, but let me tell you the full story first. An instructor that it was a lab class. It was a science lab class, 12 labs, but you could drop the two lowest. For me as an online student, and like I said in the beginning, I always wanted to de-stress and I saw everything kind of as a game. I saw it as if you do well in the first 10, you get rewarded by not doing the last two. As bad as that might sound. But to me, it gave me, you know, it gave me like basically two free get out of jail free cards, if anything. And if I make errors on the other labs, I'm covered for the first two. And not only that, if I'm not happy with the grade on my first 10, I always have two more chances to recover. You know, so I might end up doing all 12 labs. But the way I see it is if you align the assignments in a way, like all 12 assignments to the course objectives in such a way that if I drop, let's say if I skipped two labs, it doesn't hurt my learning experience. It's kind of more like, to me, it's more like I get to choose my path on how I want to achieve my learning outcome. So that was, I had to say that was a great class. And that was one thing that I didn't realize it was a gamified way of doing things until later on after doing some research and stuff like, oh, Dr. Perkins?
When you
Oh,
don't realize that you're learning, isn't that one of the most authentic ways to experience and participate in your own learning process? Very, very well put, and that can come about in different forms. Michael, I really appreciate hearing your narrative, and I hope that resonates with some of our attendees. But you didn't realize it, but this was your personal learner-centered approach in moving through the process on your own, and each student is going to have a different way they would like to proceed because everybody is different.
And without mentioning your stress levels were lowered. It's great.
yeah, that's a big one probably for a lot of students. There's a lot of hard classes out there, and it could be just a course that's like the most difficult part, you know. So any way to reduce stress, because stress could get in the way of your learning too, you know. Um, you're more worrying about the test rather than studying for the test. There's a huge difference there. So yeah, that was just something you could do in Canvas already that you could set up so it drops the lowest grade. And the students will, you know, do their own narrative about it. Some other student might have another testimony that looked a little different from mine, but I think it's a great way to just quickly start the gamification.
Benefits of that is take it one step further is the idea of choice. Um, it's one, if you start out with, okay, we have 12 assignments and we're going to drop two, it's the perspective of, okay, if I can do great on these 10, I'll be good to go. But if from the faculty, from the instructor perspective, if you have electives, if you will, elective assessments as you're going through where the student has a choice of which assessments to take and possibly each one approaches a different learning style, then the students can actually select which ones they're going to do. So we get into the idea of low stakes assessments rather than a course being a midterm and a final, where from the beginning of the course to the midterm, the student has very little feedback about how well they're doing and how much they've learned. If they have low stakes, low percentage assessments along the way, then by the time they get to the midterm isn't a make or break, which decreases stress. When you don't worry that failing at this one exam is going to ruin me for the course. Also, having that throughout the semester allows the student to recognize how well they're doing before they hit midterm, before they hit final. Some students may legitimately get into a course that may be over their head. So they look for that drop withdrawal period when they realize, oh, I have up until this point to discover, oh, wow, what I have going on in my life this semester, I may not be able to handle this. If that add drop period ends before they get to a significant assessment, then they don't know that they're over their head sometimes without that meaningful feedback.
Yeah, it was always scary for me to when I jump into a course and I just see like just two ways to assess me, and then the only two ways I get assessed is after the add and drop. It gave me an eerie feeling.
So to quickly gamify something, you could add very simple interactive, not necessarily assessments, although I know that the instructor does want to see some kind of interactions being represented in the gradebook. But some professors do look into the statistics for activity. So Canvas has its own um, uh, analytics that you can check out to see activity of students, and that also can resonate with the instructors as seeing somebody who's putting forth effort into their own learning. So gamifying inside of assessments is awesome, but you can also do that with simple PowerPoints, PDFs, discussions, and
A really interesting point that I've heard within this department is the idea that gamification already exists within courses. Like the way we design our courses is uh, uses concepts that are already applied in gamification. Something as simple as using a rubric. If you play a video game, you are given objectives that need to be accomplished. When we design courses, you're giving students objectives that need to be accomplished. And that seems like something important to recognize as well, is what tools are already being used cross-platform.
the
Like,
rules.
it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be some new thing that you've never experienced before. We've experienced a lot of these things before.
Applicable beyond video games, chess. For me, sand and sticks. I think sand was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame of toys. These are concepts that overlap across the different ways that a game can come and be used for educative purposes.
Yeah, another idea, um, the way I saw how to gamify my own learning experience was looking at the grade book a little differently. What I used to do was set all my like when I first started a course and moving forward, I used to think like I had a zero in the course. And every time I completed an assignment, of course, my grade percentage will go up and go up over time. I used to use the what if system a lot in the grade book to accomplish this to see where I'm at. But the way I saw it was I was unlocking a letter grade, at certain critical points. I unlocked the letter D, I unlocked the letter C, and moving on. It helped me reduce stress that way and increase motivation. It allowed me to look at a test and say, okay, all I need to do is get this percentage, and then I could get this grade, and I know I'm passing the class. And then if I get this percentage, I know I can get a B. This percentage, I know I get an A. And it was always awesome, um, worth it at towards like maybe 75% into the course, and where I unlocked the letter C. And a lot of my classes, C is passing. You're good to go. And I knew, like, okay, there's no way I could basically mess this up. I passed. I basically passed. I got my C. Now I could start shooting for A and B's a lot more easier now. Um, so what I'm proposing is the idea of like training our students to look differently at the grade book and see it as you have a 0% in the class at the very beginning. And over time, you could get to that A or B, but you unlock it along the way. That way, if anything, it's useful for the student because they always know what the grade is at. They know what percentage they need, what score they need at a certain test or assignment to get the desired letter grade they need. And it's also for the instructor, right? Let's just say less emails about what's my grade and more emails about questions about the content. Let's put it like that.
Michael, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was just going to say what you just described. One of our guests today was also a panelist last week when we were sharing successes. And Dr. Brown shared that same exact idea of showing the students via a chart how they were moving toward their desired grade. I love that.
I remember being remembering that as well. I think that's such an innovative approach, and I think kind of Michael, you have a very valuable perspective as you're of the generation of students that we're seeing now taking these online courses, perhaps earning their undergraduate degrees and so on. And I think you kind of shed light on a perspective that is shared with many of our students, or around your age and younger, is that we've grown up with this technology and these types of thinking, and that even if it's subconscious in some ways, it's still reinforcing those same ways that we've learned to process the way that we're drawn to certain things, or the subconscious reinforcement. So Michael, I think we're really lucky to get to hear your experience, especially as an online student and someone of this kind of age range.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, there's a lot of like I said earlier, like 30% to like 64% of U.S. adults are gamers. There's a lot of folks that just grew up with technology, and I guess having courses that from just kind of pulls the same strings as like how normal games taught us and stuff. I think is just a benefit to everyone involved. I think even the form of gamification, even in the drop to lowest assignment side, is even beneficial to the instructor as well, because it's like, as bad as it sounds, it's like two less things to look at and grade. So yeah, thank you for hearing me out.
I can share an example of those instructors who are interested in to see how this could be implemented in their groups. I'm looking at the chat to see if there's any questions. Please, again, I'm reiterating, feel free to join in on that chat. If I may, I'm going to go ahead and share an example that can be put into a Canvas course right now. And it is found at this website. I'm going to share my screen and briefly walk through what this looks like. I'm going to be showing an example of a PhET interactive simulation. PhET, F-P-H-E-T, builds interactive simulations, some of which are coupled with games as simulations. Since we make waves at FAU, let's explore the making waves simulations. That's what you are seeing on the shared screen right now. We are at this, I came across this simulation on PhET's website up here. Just to give you some quick background, there are lots of resources on PhET's website. There's teaching resources, different activities for each set of simulations. There are an overview of the topics and even sample learning goals to go through to help connect to your modules and your specific learning objectives. I scroll at the top, let's click play, and let's pretend that we are a student in your course and we have some guidance in Canvas about having some foundational informational knowledge first. So let's say that we are going to explore an informational simulation first before diving into the wave game. Let's click on the simulation to the left. This looks like a good starting point to me, a good simulation. For demonstration purposes and timing, I'm not going to go into the details, but here you can see that there's a lot of different icons and bars and controls on the screen. We can have different sounds that are played. Let's pretend we know about amplitude, we know about harmonics, and we know we have some foundational prior knowledge. Perhaps it's a few weeks into the course, so we are just exploring here in this informational simulation. Let's fast forward and say we've explored enough and we have a good idea of the content. So let's just pretend we've been in there for a while. Maybe we've had a discussion board in Canvas as well. And I'm going to click back to the main page. Now let's go into the actual game. Remember, let's pretend we have enough, we have sufficient prior knowledge of the domain specifics. Choose level 1, and okay, let's say I haven't been in here before, but I see these directions here at the top. Level 1, match the pink waveform using one harmonic. Don't worry about what are. I'm just gonna play around here. So I'm moving this, I'm trying to match that bottom pink waveform. That looks like I have a match almost, but it's flipped. The pink waveform I'm trying to match at the bottom, I know that amplitude goes down and I have mine as going up. So let's reverse that. And I'm seeing, okay. So now it looks like I've matched the waveform by having that trend go down with an increased waveform. Okay, let's see. We got it right. New waveform. So here we're learning about sinusoidal and cosinusoidal behavior, again, whether it's up or whether it's down, without even knowing it, just trying to match the waveforms. The strategy to play this game is the content that would be one of the learning objectives for a specific module in a course. And students are experiencing this in their own learning process in real time on their own without even realizing it. And they're doing this through self-agency. And this gets on the topic of, very important topic of choice, freedom, the space to fail, low stakes. This is experiential and discovery. There's not necessarily grades attached to this. And students can review, go over, play as much as they want and explore to their heart's desire. Maybe it's not yet that add drop period and they just really want the opportunity to spend extra time in some of these simulations to see, can I handle this course? Yeah, I actually can. I just needed to have a little bit more reflection time towards the beginning of the semester before I realized I can't handle this. Or maybe this could be an incentive to realize maybe I need to take a different avenue and talk to an advisor. That is one example that I have to share. Does anybody have any questions over that simulation? Oh, I see. Is it a free resource? Yes, it is free, and the default is FET has its own license stipulated, meaning they say please just cite us, and they have a specific citation of having FET at Colorado, University of Boulder, and have their website. But yes, they are free. And then teachers post resources, and then most of the time, those resources that are posted are all under a Creative Commons license of some type. The most common on FET simulations is the CC BY, which is a very open license. You simply attribute that resource if you would like. So there's lots of help. This is a wonderful community of practice on FET.
Can
Oh,
that be embedded
wonderful.
in courses?
Pardon?
Can that all be embedded in a course directly?
Why, I'm glad you asked. It can be embedded into a Canvas course. So how to do that? Just take it. You're gonna have to pardon me. I'm gonna have to take a quick second and just show really quick what that looks like. So what we want to do to embed a simulation is go to that simulations main page, to the embed icon, which we have right here. Click it, copy to clipboard, and then when we are in Canvas, we go to edit mode, paste in this link, and it embeds as an icon.
That's neat.
So the students, in other words, the students can engage at their own time in accordance to their own needs within the Canvas environment without having to leave the Canvas environment.
Well, Dr. Brown has mentioned sharing situational simulations. That's hard for me to say. And I just invited her to speak if she would like to. So
I have developed these situational analysis simulations, which are more like Word documents in which I describe a situation. And one class, it's actually an instructional design class in which you're managing a team of instructional designers. And the simulation unfolds with new complex problems every week. And then the team has to work together to figure out what is the best solution and propose that solution and then modify their course, which happens to instructional designers all the time. And then my undergraduate class is teachers, pre-service teachers. So they haven't ever taught before. So we're asking them to take on a new perspective. They're used to being students and not teachers. So I wrote the situational simulations to help put them into that role of a teacher so they could approach their assignments from a teacher perspective versus a student perspective. And I just get positive results all the time for those simulations. It makes the class more interesting too.
I like it because it's like role play. So it's like it's kind of one of those things in where I don't know what else you would call it. It's kind of like a street smart, book smart type thing. Role play promotes the street smart way. Oh, job experience would probably be the better way. And then book smart would be like the expert in the field type knowledge. I do like that Dr. Brown. Oh, badging. Oh yeah, that's another one. Badging would be a good idea. I'm not too familiar with badging, though. Like, I haven't seen it in a course yet.
We do have a previous Center for Online and Continuing Education professional development session done by our instructional designer, Tanya G. And she did Gamify Your Course with Badger. I can put the link in the chat and then
And Badger, in terms of the student experience, is completing certain objectives and you get a badge, right? So it's like an achievement system, right? Yeah, and I
kind
wish
of
I had
be
that.
analogous to a scoreboard. So it
Ah,
hints at that
okay.
motivation, intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation coming together to help meet the engagement of both the individual student and the collective dynamic of the student group.
All right, so we have 10 minutes to talk about the more theoretical but long-term ideas. For my first idea, it would be great if so on Canvas, right, when you see an assignment and where you could submit an assignment or however you get assessed, right? It would be great if you were able to see what each letter grade on that assignment, how it affects your overall grade. Like if you get a C on this assignment, you get this. This is what affects your overall grade. If you get a B in an assignment, how did that affect your overall grade? I think it promotes the whole idea that the student will know what their grades are at, but also again, it's a common theme for me, de-stress. If I see that, okay, this assignment, if I get a C, it's no big deal. I'm still good. It doesn't hurt my grade. It doesn't affect my grade anyways. If I get an A, I know this will boost my grade very well. If I get the reverse, it could also motivate me. If I get the reverse and get an F, I know how much it could hurt me. So it kind of tells me kind of like an experience bar, like pretend like a little bar, and you kind of see how much that assignment could affect your grade before you submit your grade, submit your assignment. So that's one thing that I would wish. I don't know if Canvas supports it right now, but theoretically, that would be nice to just see. It's a little add-on to it. Um, that would be at least my idea this year for right now.
Would that be comparable to their what if item in there in the student view?
Yeah, but it's like actually, it's exactly like the what if in the grade book, but instead, it would be nice to have the what if version in the assignment view. So when you see your rubrics or you see like right next to the button of submit assignment, you see like a what if of if you got an A on this assignment, this is what how your overall score would change. If you got a C on the assignment, this is how your score would change. It just I don't know. That's basically what I was doing already in the grade book. Every assignment I would get, and I go to the next assignment. Of course, set everything to zero. I'll start putting some random test grades. Like, okay, if I get a C on this assignment, how does it affect my grade? If I get a B on this assignment, how much my grade affect? Even for tests, that was a way to do it. Like around finals time, very stressful. Uh, at least in the grade, what I was doing in the what if version of the grade book, I was just putting in random tests. Like first, I'll test. Okay, what if I get a zero on the final? What happens? In some cases I already passed the class. So I'm already like, I'm good. I could study for this in peace, no stress at all. I could start shooting for my target grade. Some cases not, but it might not be that much. It would be like, oh, you need a 30 to pass the class in the finals. That's still not as bad, you know. And then of course I could test my grade for other higher things, right? Sometimes the final didn't really was not the I guess the way to get a B or anything like that. So like, what if I needed? It could be like I needed 30% on the exam just to get a B, then I know I could easily get a B. I could really shoot for an A. So it's exactly like you said, Dr. Judy Summers. It's the what if of the grade book, but in the assignment slash even test area now. It would just be just handy, just spread more awareness of the students' grades. Um,
And I
but that
like that approach, and I like it being a part of the rubric, and that leads me to the fact that next week's professional development session will be on rubrics, so we can have a conversation with her to see about maybe thinking about that or adding that in at least as a possibility for it. We are at 5 minutes, so
we really out of time.
We are at 5 minutes, so I will be very, very brief for my long-term example. It is a source. I put the link in the chat. This is a link to EI Games. EI is emotional intelligence, and these are programs that have course packs in a modular form. This is an exemplar of modular gamification, and there are different domains within the business realm that you could explore, and if you choose, you could implement these into your course with respect to modules in accordance to the alignment of your learning objectives. And this is intended for a long period. It can be for a longer period instead of just one simulation. EI Games offers a program, say for business ethics, that could extend through the entire course. And this is an exemplar of scenario-based learning where students can view a video, it's a scenario, put their feedback, their idea, and interact with the game. And this also syncs with Canvas.
yeah, and I think we can plan on going into more depth in that in our follow-up session, which I will let everyone know we don't have a specific date for, but it will be sometime toward the beginning of next semester. And I know Linnell has something that she will be adding to that session as well. So you want to give us a preview of coming attractions, Linnell?
We mentioned several times during this discussion about experiential discovery. Michael also mentioned how to choose your own adventure, which is very exciting to me. I love those concepts. One quote is a gaming solution to a human problem is a powerful way to raising awareness. This is a time when we learned a lot about stress and how to protect our health. And how can we encourage meditation to be part of the daily routine as a pathway to a healthier lifestyle? And I thought about maybe creating a mindful breathing game. And if I could share that really quickly. This is a 360 immersion. The learner could take a few moments to look around and be aware of the now. The focus of this very intuitive game is just breathing. And it's just a lovely environment where you can just be relaxed as you go into the garden to look for your guide. You can take pathways of your own choosing.
So we'll look forward to seeing the further iteration then in our next session, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to thank everyone for joining us, and I'm going to see if Mr. Freeman would like to sign us off.
For participating. Our team really puts a lot into these sessions, and we love sharing this material with you, and we'd love to hear back from you as well. So when we do part 2, if you have more questions, feel free to bring them in, unmute, and chat with us. And we hope you all had a great vacation the past few days, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
So thank you so much for joining us today.